Well, welcome. Good evening. I'm Cindy Carlton, and I'm the co-chair of the Farmington Area Arts Commission. And on behalf of the commission, I'd like to welcome you to our first annual Art of the Matter Career Panel Workshop. Yay! I know, we're pretty excited. I just want to spend a couple minutes, and I promise I'll make it really short because that's not what you're here for, to tell you a little bit about the commission and introduce the commissioners that are here. The Arts Commission is an elected commission, or not elected, I'm sorry, appointed commission by the city governments. We represent both Farmington and Farmington Hills. And our role and our mission is pretty much to ensure that the arts are a part of the daily lives of the communities of both Farmington and Farmington Hills. That includes working with the artists. We are members of a lot of different arts groups around the city, making sure that we're hearing what they need, kind of working back and forth with them as well, see what we can do, what kind of programs we can help them to pull off. We also represent you, the residents, everyone of the city, and the government as well. We are the voice of the arts, hopefully hearing what the community is saying, taking it back to the government and to make some decisions based on that. And then last but not least, education. It's an area that we're really passionate about, supporting arts education, and great events like this as our first annual. So I just wanted to actually, if all the commission members that are here could just stand up, I just wanted to recognize. Yes, you have to. Susan Warner is a commission member. We have Beverly Ellis, Elena Pike, who's back there, Jim McGlincy, Paul Hike just stuck his head in, and I'd like to recognize Celeste McDermott, who I'm going to introduce a little bit in a minute. And I'd like to recognize actually two members that couldn't make it today, Dwayne Hayes and my co-chair Jennifer Burkmeyer. So just a little bit about the commission. I know you're going to have lots of things to talk to these great people afterward, but if anybody is interested in the commission or has ideas and things, feel free to catch one of us as well. So without further ado, I'd like to actually reintroduce Celeste McDermott. She is amazingly passionate about arts education and the chair of this event, and she's going to get this thing moving.
Good evening. I am so thrilled to see each and every one of you this evening. So to our distinguished panelists, to students, parents, teachers, the commissioners, art lovers all, good evening. Do you dream? Can you imagine life anchored by a career committed to art or artistic endeavors? Pablo Picasso tells us that everything you can imagine is real, while Albert Einstein instructs us that logic can take you from A to B, but art can take you everywhere, and imagination can take you everywhere. And when you think about it, art really is everywhere. It's omnipresent, it permeates, it influences what we feel, what we see, what we hear, how we travel, how we design our homes and schools, our clothing, how we capture our history, our culture, our religious beliefs, even how we love, how we wear our hair. It helps us heal our mind and our bodies. Daily, art is revealed majestically and magnificently in nature. So you see, art matters. Poet, architect, master painter, master sculptor, Michelangelo throughout history has been identified as the pinnacle for artistic achievement. His statement, "I saw an angel in the marble and carved until I set him free," has been a source of inspiration for centuries. So tonight the question is, what angel will you set free? Whose lives will be transformed through your expressions of visual arts, music, like we had with Mr. Hobson, the written word, movement, or dance? How will the power of your artistic expression awaken or motivate others? Will your commitment to the arts change the world? Our workshop goals tonight are really straightforward and quite simple. We hope that you'll begin to explore the unlimited possibilities for using the arts as a bridge between imagination and reality by introducing you to this diverse arts-focused practitioners, by providing an opportunity for you to ask lots of questions, for networking, sharing resources, and hopefully along the way a little fun. We hope that this workshop bolsters your courage and faith to pursue artistic careers and endeavors. So let's get started. We have a special moderator for us this evening. Truly, the lives of residents of the city of Farmington Hills, of southeastern Michigan, and indeed our beloved state of Michigan, have all been enhanced through the progressive arts programming initiated by Nancy Comodoris. If, as a Farmington Hills resident, you've attended the professional concert series, you participated in youth theater, you registered for a myriad of arts classes or workshops, you attended a tea, you strolled through City Hall and admired the works of local artists in our public spaces, you know you've had a glimpse of the imagination and the bridging of imagination to reality through the arts through Nancy Comodoris. She moves scenes and scenery and obstacles to make all of our lives and our communities better. She's extraordinary. We think she really is pure Michigan. So please warmly welcome the recipient of the National Museum Award for Art Trade, the current supervisor of the Cultural Arts Department for the City of Farmington Hills, and our moderator for tonight's workshop, Nancy Comodoris.
Well, goodness, I was blushing back there. Thank you, Celeste. That's very, very sweet of you. But, of course, the reason that things work here in the city of Farmington Hills are the citizens. You're the ones that voted years ago to start a cultural arts division. You are the ones that promote our programs, that come and enjoy them and support all the things that we do in the arts here in Farmington Hills. And it is my privilege to be here to work with all of you in the city, both cities, Farmington and Farmington Hills, because you are the ones that make it happen. Also, I do have to give a lot of credit to my amazing staff. I have some wonderful people that I work with in the Special Services Department here in Farmington Hills who do a lot of the work and have a lot of the imagination that goes into the events and things that we do. So that's one of the reasons we're here, and I think we're very proud to be a city that supports the arts in this way, to have one of the few cultural arts divisions in the state of Michigan, and to have it being, continuing so strongly in this area. And I am happy to say that the programs are not only surviving, they are expanding, they're growing, and even during our worst economic times, we were still doing very, very well in the arts here, and that's thanks to all of you, and thanks to your supporting all the things that we do in special services. So I'd like to give you a hand. I mean, that's wonderful. Thank you. And also our commission to help put this on tonight. This was really their brainchild to do this event tonight and to televise it so that it can go on the air and a lot of people can see it who might not be able to be here tonight. People that are involved in the arts are always the ones that are out there busy. And I know a lot of them, for example, Jordan came from 2 rehearsals this evening to be here with us. These are the people that are so involved and can't always make it out. So I'm happy to see all of you here. It's just wonderful to have you here, the ones that could come. And I know that all of you have within you that creative feeling that we have that are involved in the arts. And tonight's talk will help you think about ways that you might be able to carry that through the rest of your life successfully. It's one of those things that always amazes me is how people don't understand how many careers there are in the arts and how many ways you can use your art knowledge and your art expertise and your talents that you have. The arts are one of the things in the last few years in this economy that have grown in the state of Michigan. There are more jobs in the arts now than there were 5 years ago in Michigan, and very few professions can say that. So that's another very important point to make this evening. But now tonight we have an amazing panel. We put together representatives from many different areas, and I know we're going to continue doing this every year and have more panelists each year, but we're really proud to start with this group tonight. What we've asked them to do is to prepare about 5 minutes or a little bit more, if they'd like, to talk about how they got involved in the arts and what they do in the arts and why they feel it's important, or anything else that they want to say, and then we're going to start asking some questions. And I hope a lot of you will join in and ask them questions as well. I'm going to give you a short introduction of each one. Down on the end, Jordan Sheetsley. She is from the Farmington Hills Youth Theater and Actors Avenue, and she is a senior at North Farmington High School. And we also have next to her Bob Akins. He had his Bachelor of Professional Arts from the Los Angeles Art Center College of Design. He spent 35 years designing cars and trucks for Ford Motor Company and retired as the chief designer. He is also an artist now, an aviation artist, and our artist in resident from 2013. And next to Bob, we have Amy Armand. She is Director of Recruitment for the College of Creative Studies and also the Executive Director of the Scholastic Art Awards in Southeast Michigan. I know a lot of you are thinking about scholastics around this time of the year. Next to Amy, we have Susan Warner. Susan Warner, as you know, is a member of our commission. She studied at the College for Creative Studies, and she is a tile specialist and design consultant and an artist. That's one of her pieces behind us here. Ted Hadfield got his MFA from the Cranbrook Academy of Art. He is an artist in his own right and also runs Art Pack Services, which is an amazing company here in Farmington Hills, and Ted will tell you a little more about that, I'm sure. And Carol Cranston is an art therapist at the Junior Senior Life, and she also works with cancer patients and works independently as well. So welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your knowledge with us. Now I'm going to start on this end with Carol and let Carol speak a little bit here. Let's move the mic over.
Actually, I probably don't need the mic, and because I can't see half of you sitting back here, I'm going to stand up. I am an art therapist, and I became an art therapist after 25 years as a corporate and residential interior designer. And my biggest, my bucket list was the $75 million wiki project for Kellogg. So after I did that, I'm like, okay, now what am I gonna do? So my mom, Beulah Gray, who's sitting here, she had kind of found out about art therapy. And she said, you know, sweetie, I think this would be a great opportunity for you to get involved with. And art therapy deals with art using the creative process to help and work with people that are in a conflict of some sort. I've worked with autistic children. My population right now is Jewish Senior Life. The average age is 90. The oldest is 104, and the youngest is 80. I work with cancer patients out of the cancer centers around here, and working with them. And they ask me, "Have you ever had cancer?" And I said, "Yes, I've had 3 primary cancers: stage 4, stage 3, and stage 1." And so then everything's cool. I can talk to them and I can walk with them, and we're good. So I love art therapy, as you can all see. I did this one for myself, this my brochure, but I also have out there also is for the Wayne State, is the only master's program in the state of Michigan that offers art therapy. So I have these for you also. And then this is the challenge here with it, but this is my portfolio and some of my residents and what we've done, and it gives you an idea of the project, the targeted group, and the patient's benefit. So how art therapy helps with so much as the cognitive to the physical to the social and emotional. That is all art therapy. So I'd love to answer questions for you, or anything that you have, or you can come up. You cannot take this. This is mine. No, I worked real hard for this. But I'm happy. I would happy to let you know and see it, and the different things, the different opportunities, and how we do things. Okay? Thank you.
You can sit and use the mic if you, just for recording. Just use the mic.
Good evening. My name is Ted Hadfield. I am, as Nancy said, an artist, and first and foremost, and always will be an artist. And however, after my approximately 10 years of education, formal education in the arts, lo and behold, I graduate with a master's degree, and suddenly I'm faced with making a living. So that's kind of a shock, although I should have seen it coming after all those years. So just after graduating, I was pretty familiar with the community at large in terms of art collectors. You learn a lot while you're at Cranbrook, where I got my MFA, and just met a collector, who's Gil and Lila Silverman, and I will for always be in debt to them for giving us the opportunity to be involved in the community and in the arts. Gil and Lila they were named top 50 collectors in the United States for several ongoing years now, but they, after graduating, gave us an opportunity to be involved in the arts and shipping the art. They have a collection they collect many things over the years, but at that time they had a working drawing collection that they collected from many artists around the world and wanted to exhibit it at Cranbrook. So they gave us, my original partner and I, an opportunity to move the art, and it was the beginning of our company. It's 33 years later this month that our company has been in business, and as I said, we owe it to Gil and Lila. But we, in terms of working drawings or mechanical drawings, I'm actually a sculptor, practicing sculptor, and this is what I would call a working drawing or mechanical drawing. So, and that's the extent of my 2D work. It's always a preparation, or figure out how to put objects together, pieces together, materials together, and then I go from that into making sculptures. So anyway, so I'm a practicing artist and have a studio at my home, but I am a businessman. And if it wasn't for my interest in the arts early on, and I think it always goes back to one person in particular when you're a young person that either makes it or breaks it for you as an artist. In my case, it was my 6th grade teacher who happened to say, "This is beautiful," and actually put it on the wall. I've actually seen teachers and heard of teachers saying, "Not during my math class," and crunch it up and throw it away. That memory of that episode can last a lifetime. Make it or break it as a creative person. So my idea of an artist really has to do more with the creative process. I see artists as visionaries. It's not that you're a painter or a sculptor, filmmaker, whatever it may be, because everything you do as an artist has to do with taking in your environment. It's about living. It's about the life and being in the moment, observing, taking that information in, and then presenting it in your own voice. Those are the kinds of feelings and attitudes we have to promote as teachers, as parents, and that leads up to the creative process being just permeating your life, and that's what I would call a visionary, someone that can see beyond and see all aspects and opportunities. I have, I tend to think of the creative process, well, it goes into all aspects of life, and I have a personal hero. His name is Homer Hickam. He's not an artist, although you could debate that. He was, I don't know if anybody knows Homer Hickam or ever heard of him. He's now in his 70s, but he's a writer, and he wrote a book called Rocket Boys. And he's from Coalwood, West Virginia, and a coal town, obviously, and the idea was you'd grow up and you'd be part of the coal factory. And Homer had this vision, if you will, of making rockets. And he utilized his passion to build rockets. Now, in my mind, a working mechanical drawing is all part of the art process, all part of the creative process. This is what Homer did, only it ended up in a form of a rocket versus a sculpture or something. So he pursued that. You know, his life was to be in the coal mines, but he did something different, and he ended up being working for NASA for several years and an aerospace physicist. So I guess my point is that when you have vision, you allow. I mean, everybody in this town was against his rocketry exploration, but he pursued it and became very successful. So I guess that's it. Don't know where to go from there, but hopefully you'll have lots of questions regarding the company, Art Pack Services, and how that continues the creative process in my life. Thanks.
I'd like to mention, too, that Ted is our juror for our High School Student Art Awards this year. He also was our juror last year. Did such a wonderful job, we asked him back again. And a very interesting business that he has. And Susan, you're up next.
Yes. I kind of got into the diversity of art in my notes, and probably I'll wind up just winging it because that's what I do the best. So basically, my background, obviously, considering the ages of everyone on this panel, mine goes back a little farther than all of theirs. And I went to the Society of Arts and Crafts before it was Center for Creative Studies, and it was only one building at the time, and now it's quite large. But in those days, it was only a certificate there at Society of Arts and Crafts. But life kind of gets in the way as you're planning on doing something else. Of course, being idealistic, I thought I'm going to live in New York and paint and have a lovely little studio. Instead, I was busy raising 4 children, and during that time, I did portraiture and I worked freelance for an agency. Basically, I've learned a lot of things along the way. The path that you think you might be taking may not be your final path. I found that I had an opportunity to learn, it was not my choice, to learn about tile. And I became a tile design consultant, and it kind of expanded from there. I did that for the Expo Design Center when they were open. They're now no longer around. I helped design spaces for hotels, kitchens, baths. Actually, the Civic Theater in downtown Farmington, I just finished a color and lighting design project for them. But I went on from there actually to work with trades and design people with the tile shops of Michigan. There were 5 locations. But as an artist, all of these things all came together. The design of the tile spaces was pretty diverse, not really what I had wanted to do. But as time goes by, they all blend together. And my work, I think, has improved, my paintings, my collage, as a result of all of the design work that I've done with tile and what you can do with tile. I love tile. I'm one of these people that walks into the building and I know who the manufacturer is of that piece in the bathroom. But it's kind of fun. You have to be, my point being, you really have to be open to diverse opportunities. Things that come your way may not be what you plan on doing with your life as you grow up. Mine changed several times along the way. But whatever you do, at the end, it will all combine to be an enriched result, basically. So that's actually all I have.
Yeah. Amy.
Great. I don't have any notes, and winging it is not what I do best, but I will try to make a couple of points for you. So I've worked at the College for Creative Studies now for 15 years, and it's actually kind of my second career. I started out in banking, and I worked there for 15 years, and then in the 90s, the banking world kind of flipped, and a lot of people ended up finding second careers, and I couldn't be happier. At the time, I thought it was the end of the world for me. You know, that was all that I wanted to do. So I started working at CCS 15 years ago, and since then, I've now become the director of recruitment. I started out as working the front desk, answering phones, kind of starting a career all over again. And the part of my job that I'm the proudest of is the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards that CCS is the affiliate sponsor for. So for the southeastern Michigan region, which is about 6 counties, we have that program, and then also we work with Macomb Community College out in the Thumb area to sponsor that. So I get to be part of middle and high school artwork, supporting that, working with the art teachers, and it's been very, very fulfilling to be part of that whole program, to recognize students at a very early age. To, if any of you have participated in the Scholastic Awards, you know that it can be a really great experience to get noticed for your artwork when that's the thing that you're proudest of. So the other great thing about being involved in the Scholastic program is due to social networking, I've gotten to know a lot of artists from a young age that have then come to College for Creative Studies, that have then graduated and gone on to successful careers. So I do have some personal experience with CCS and students. Both of my kids have graduated from there. My daughter was a crafts major and worked with metals. My son graduated from the illustration department and now owns his own gallery down in Detroit in the Eastern Market area. So I see, an incredibly amount of diverse things that kids can do. I've re-met students who have come back to be our keynote speakers in the ceremonies for Scholastic that were once Gold Key winners themselves. One of the this year we had our ceremony at the Detroit Film Theater at the DIA, which was really exciting. And we had 2 keynote speakers. One was a woman who is a painter and went on to be one of the top 25 in Art Prize in Grand Rapids this past year. Her oil paintings have been purchased by major museums. And the other keynote speaker that we had is a photographer who went off to New York after she graduated, and was a fashion photographer, and now she's written a book called Heart Soul Detroit, which is photographs of Detroit icons like Eminem and Kid Rock and Smokey Robinson. And so I see this very wide range of what students do after they graduate from an art college. There's another young woman that I just want to mention her story because it's really kind of embodies everything. She graduated from high school. She came to CCS in her sophomore year. She had an assignment in her product design class that was design something to fill a need. And she had an idea that she wanted to do something for the homeless, but she didn't quite know what. So she spent time in homeless shelters, and she came up with an idea to manufacture a coat that turns into a sleeping bag at night. And she recently won an award that she was presented by Caroline Kennedy, a JFK New Frontier Award. And she's not even 30 yet, and she has a company called the Empowerment Plan that hires homeless women to actually make these coats, and they're hoping to give 800 of those away this year. So I see lots and lots and lots of stories like that. Art is, I'm not an artist myself, but I'm surrounded by it. I have kids, my dad's a painter, so I see so many different ways that art affects all of our lives and careers. And I think that if you are interested in any kind of, pursuing any kind of career in the arts, as long as you're doing what it is that you love, it'll be fulfilling, you'll be happy, you'll work really hard at it, and you'll be successful.
Amy mentioned product design. If you're not familiar with it, it's a form of industrial design Industrial designers are responsible for the appearance of every product that you can think of, whether it's the chairs you're sitting on, your iPhone, or the cars that you're driving. My specialty is automotive design, and this is where the art comes in. To have an idea, whether it's creating a new car or creating a new TV, it doesn't do you any good if you can't express it. And you have to be able to express it to people who then can convert your two-dimensional thought or sketch into a three-dimensional model. And art is where you have to be able to express that idea. Currently in the automotive business, the designers are using computers, but it's just a tool like any other tool. The sketch behind you is 25 years old. Gives you an idea how long I've been out of design. But you have to be able to show a creative modeler what your conception is for the vehicle, so he can then transfer it to clay and then into a full-size model. And the different processes are illustrated here. At some time you may want to take a look at it. But industrial design is a form of art that a lot of people forget, that it's not what you think as traditional art. But Center for Creative Study has an excellent classes in industrial design going back forever. And a lot of automotive designers in Detroit are a product of Center for Creative Studies. Now, what I do now is aviation art, which is so far removed from automotive, it's wonderful. I paint in oils. If you're not familiar, oils take forever to dry, and it's wonderful. You can sit back, relax, there's no deadlines. You can spend as much time researching, and I just happen to love aviation history, so I'll spend as much time in the books and Googling as I will at the studio with a paintbrush. But to have a passion for what you're involved with, whether it's painting landscapes or airplanes, it really makes it a fulfilling, enjoyable career.
Hi guys. I don't have as much to talk about as anyone else up here, but I'll do my best. My name is Jordan Sheetsley. I'm 18 years old and I'm a senior at North Farmington High School. I am involved in the theater and choir at my school and outside of my school. I started theater and shows when I was 7 years old in the community, actually. Everyone does their elementary school shows and things like that, but I started real shows and things when I was 7, and I've been doing them ever since. I love it, and I don't know where I'd be without it. About 5 years ago, I started not only being in shows and acting in them, but also choreographing them and helping assistant direct. So, people say I did pretty good at it. So, at the moment, I am choreographing 2 shows. One, Camp Rock for the Farmington Hills Youth Theater, and another one is a Disney dinner theater that'll be traveling here next month. I'm in my high school show at the moment. I'm in Cary over at North Farmington High School, and it's great being able to be in so many different things and so many different aspects, on stage, off stage, and things like that. I've been in over 26 shows, and I've choreographed 8 or so. I'm so fortunate to have found the arts when I was in such a young age, because the arts themselves have allowed me to develop skills that I never would have developed without it. Not only has it shaped me to be a person who's outgoing and personable and easy to talk to and things like that, but it's also allowed me to develop skills such as leadership and just being able to talk in front of people as I am now. So it's really great, and I've developed relationships since I was 7 that I'll never be able to get rid of them. And I love it so much. I really, as cliche as it sounds, I really don't know where I'd be without the theater. So that's about it.
I have to say Jordan is one of the products of the Farmington Hills Youth Theater, and we've watched her since she was little, very shy and quiet, to the Jordan she is now, and she's one of our instructors for our summer theater camps, and it's one of our largest programs. We're very proud of the youth theater. Right now we have 140 kids in 2 casts, and she's one of the ones that is herding those kids and getting them on stage for the rehearsals and so on. So she does an amazing job. She really does an amazing job. So So these are outstanding panelists. I know that they have a wealth of information and experience here. We'd like you to be able to ask questions. I don't want you to be shy, and if you want us to start off, I can throw a few questions out there. But does anyone have something that they wanted to ask right off the bat? Or there we go.
Hi, my name is Alex Stage. I actually work at Ford Motor Company, and I actually work a lot with studio designers, but I've never in my life taken arts classes. Always loved to draw cars. Are there classes that I can take just to help me develop the skill of how to draw automotive? Because a lot of, I looked online, they all say, okay, well, you're gonna draw a bouquet of flowers or things like that, but are there classes like that for thank you.
Really, if you want to go into automotive design as a profession, you just have to start drawing cars over and over. That's how you start. And even right now, with 99% of it computer generated, they still start little sketches on paper. It's just a starting point. But computer is the way of the future. And obviously, CCS is a place to learn.
Thank you. Well, and I didn't come here to sell CCS to all of you, just so you know.
The other school is Art Center in LA, but it's a longer drive. Sorry. But
No, it's okay. I just wanted to add also that there's a lot of different things that you might want to get into that you may not realize right off the bat that you have to do a lot of drawing. So if you're interested in computer animation, if you're interested in game design, if you're interested in advertising, graphic design, you're still going to need to illustration. You're still going to need to have those kind of skills. So if you're an adult, or if you're still in school and you don't have those classes available to you, check your community centers and check your community colleges and different places to see how you can just practice and carry a sketchbook around with you all the time.
I have a question for Carol Cranston. Once you were, you had done your career in interior design, how did you then go into art therapy? Did you go back to school, or?
I did. I went to Kendall School of Design in Grand Rapids. That was my undergrad, but when I went there, it was not accredited. So then I had to go back and get my accreditation. Once they became accredited, I had to go back for a year and get my Bachelor's of Fine Arts from Kendall. Once I was able to establish that, then I looked into Wayne State, was accepted, and that's where I got my Master's in Education in Art Therapy. But I could not have done it without the stepping stones to become the accreditation for my undergrad, and then being able to get accepted into Wayne and everything. There are only 18 colleges in the United States that offer a master's in art therapy. And art therapy, in order to do art therapy, you must have a master's. You can some may find a bachelor's, but the doors don't open for you as much. And the other thing I will say is that don't expect to go out there and find a job just like that. It doesn't happen. You have to make your own jobs. And so what I've done is have Love, Laugh, Heal is my business. And I have made my own business as an art therapist, helping different populations to be able to thrive in a area where they're not used to thriving. And I'll tell you just a real quick story. I was working with a 93-year-old woman who is blind and deaf. And so she felt that population was here, and she was here. And she was extremely suicidal. And she told me that when she was in Jerusalem at 12 years old, her father was an artist, but she brought this drawing home, and her mother ripped it up. And it was like what Ted was saying about, so she ripped it up. She said, "You will never make any money doing this, and you are forbidden to do this in this house." So 81 years later, blind and deaf, she was able to open up a whole, and I have some of her drawings in here, and she was able then to feel reconnected to people at 93 years old, and so she is amazing to say the least. But these are her drawings. Now she's blind and she's deaf. Okay, she's blind and she's deaf. So, I have a powerful voice, and they probably heard me 7 blocks away, but that's okay because I saved her life. And she tells everybody that Carol saved my life. She truly saved my life. So that's part of what art therapy does.
I have a question for Jordan. When you say I like acting, but I'm not sure what programs I should enroll in.
Okay. Have you ever done any kind of theater before? Or anything like that?
Well, I've done some camps and I've done a play, but that's it.
Well, there's a ton of programs that you can get involved in. Camp Rock is actually going on right now, but we have auditions coming up in the fall, but there's also summer camps, all kinds of theatrical summer camps we do at the Farmington Players Barn, and I would strongly encourage you to do some of those, and you can kind of get comfortable with it.
Okay, thank you.
One thing we noticed, of course, when we put up the public artwork at City Hall was how many people were talking about the pieces, and they started talking to each other, and they may not particularly like a piece, but fell in love with all that new artwork in our City Hall once we renovated it. And of course what came out of that is that good art creates conversation and gives people something to talk about, some way to express yourself even through someone else's art, and I think that's an important point too. But I'd like to ask the panelists a couple questions too. If you are young people wanting to get into the arts, of course you have your own art area that you're interested in perhaps, but what else do you need besides that? You might be a great artist, but to become successful, of course, there are other things you need to have in the business world or whatever. I've seen so many young artists that think all they need to do is do their artwork and that's it, but there's so much more that you need. So maybe, Ted, I would direct that one at you.
I always start with you must have an open mind. You can focus on painting or sculpture, whatever it is, but you have to be a sponge, basically. You take in whatever information is out there. You are aware of your environment, indoors, outdoors. In my own art, it is actually sort of a balancing act. I call it, pieces I've done in the past called equi. It's for equilibrium, and it's creating a balance between ongoing technology that we develop and the natural world. We have to have a balance between those two. So it's there's another word I like to use a lot is connection. So in any business that you get involved in life, you have to have those connections. It's true in the arts also. Connections also involve, as I said earlier, is being aware of your environment and taking in that information.
The Center for Creative Studies offer business in the arts type of programs too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. We have a business concentration, and I was just thinking, I had a conversation earlier today about students who tend to do well, because there is a fallacy, I think, sometimes that art school is easy or fun, and you can have fun times, and there can be things that you do that may come easier to you, but it can be very difficult. And there's also a lot of liberal arts courses that are involved. You're taking a lot of studio courses, foundation courses, so it's not like you're just drawing and painting. There's an awful lot more involved. But students who tend to do well and make it all the way through and are the ones that come in with a good grade point average. So doing well in your classes in school is really important. And I think working with other people is something that you need to keep in mind. A lot of times, and not to generalize, but sometimes artists can sort of draw into themselves and want to work on things by themselves. And the more you collaborate, the better your experience is going to be. Working on pretty much anything but maybe painting, you're going to be working with other artists or designers. So being able to collaborate, I think, is pretty huge.
If I could continue on that same sort of point, as I mentioned, I did go to Cranbrook, and Cranbrook, the educational community there is excellent. And the departments are set up in the master's program where you could be in the architectural department but do painting, or you can be in ceramics and do film. So what it does is allow the interaction between the students in different frames of mind, and so the outcome from all of that is additional self-expression, additional awareness. So.
See, I have a personal a story I'd like to share with you. I come from a family. My brother's a doctor. My mom was a teacher in Detroit for 37 years. My dad was the CPA, and creativity in our family was like not happening. And so here comes Carol, and I'm messing up on English and math and everything. So my mom goes to North Farmington High School counselor. Now that's I'm sure they're not there anymore. They're retired. And says, I don't know what's wrong with my daughter, but she's doing so poorly in English and math and everything, but she loves to draw. She loves anything with art. And that counselor told my mom, he said, you know, we need creative people in this world. You need to get off her back, and you need to just let her create. And my mom cried all the way home. She thought she had completely messed me up. And she did. No, I'm just kidding. But it was the support of that one counselor. And then the other thing, when I went to art school, there weren't business classes that you could take. That was way long time ago. But I would suggest business classes. I would suggest an environment that exudes creativity, and so that you can go in and not feel like a headless horseman out here, that you are in a creative atmosphere that you are going to thrive in. So and you can make money at it. It takes a while. And you need to know business, and you need to have an environment that you feel creative in. Okay?
I'm kind of glad to hear all of that, because I know that you get discouraged a lot sometimes, you know, about a career in the arts. And again, I'd like to emphasize that careers in the arts are growing. There's so many things, of course, that we use arts for that people don't realize, and it is a growing field in many different ways. I know in the Parks and Rec department that I work in, having a cultural arts division is unusual, but I do hear from many cities around that they're having more and more arts programs. The Parks and Rec Michigan Association is always asking us to come and give presentations at their conferences, because more and more cities want to have arts programs. One thing we don't have is a comprehensive program for community arts coordinators to put together the types of things and work in the arts in cities, and that's something that we're trying to change, to get a certification program similar to recreation certifications you can get to put on programming for recreation. So that's a new and upcoming field, I believe, and I think the more that we make it available on our end, the more cities will take advantage of that and open up more career space for those sorts of things. But I know that everyone seems to want that. For example, youth theaters are growing in other cities. Lots of programs are, and I know everyone here likes the concerts right here within our city, things like that. Everyone wants to have those kind of activities, so that is a growing field as well. But don't get discouraged. My daughter is a visual artist, and she's doing a lot of design work. She's working independently. She's gotten some other work in real estate with her photography degree from Michigan, and she's doing very well, and I'm real proud of her, and really glad that she followed through with that. So don't be discouraged. Actually, I started with this career as a volunteer in Waterford, formed a Waterford Cultural Council, and then it kind of grew into this sort of thing for me. So that's a very important thing to learn. For example, the art fair we do in the summertime, if you want to volunteer for that, you get to meet many, many artists there at the art fair and talk to them about how they make their art or how they promote their art and what it's like to be a traveling artist in that sense too. I mean, there's lots of possibilities out there. Go out and offer yourself as a I guess, a student assistant for an artist or for a gallery somewhere and learn a lot from that too. So that's just another suggestion. So anyone else have questions from the audience yet? No? Yes, okay, hold on.
Other than Amy Armand, I was wondering if any of you feel you have served in a mentoring role for young people who are, working their way through their arts interests.
I work with kids, like I said, ranging from age 6, sometimes age 4 to age 18 and adults. And it's really great to see some kids come through and they're young, but they're so shy and they're so, into themselves. And it's great to see them blossom through the process of not only theater, but like making friends and things like that. It's great to just see how people blossom, when they get into something that they love. So
I'd like to speak maybe sort of a different purchase on the idea of mentoring. The fact is the people I mentor are my employees, and I pay them. And that's a little different idea there. But nonetheless, they are people, young people. As I've been in the company longer and longer, they're always younger and younger, of course. But they're from CCS and from Cranbrook and Lawrence Tech and Wayne State and Oakland University. They're all artists, people that want to be artists, and they're practicing artists. And first thing I say to them, you are not going to stop being an artist. This company is here to help fund your goal as an artist. The nice thing that's come about over the years, to sort of take the mentoring redefinition a little bit further, is our company has gotten involved in a lot of benefits. And what makes me so proud is the employees that have been with me for 20 years and longer are full tilt involved in doing benefit work. And we're involved in the Michigan AIDS Coalition, and we do fundraisers for that, and child help. So just about anything that comes along that we feel a heartfelt connection with, we try to get our company involved in. And like I said, our employees are 100% behind it. So I have to feel that my attitude about doing business and my attitude as an artist does help mentor young people in a good direction, good, positive, affirmative direction.
I'd like to mention that we will be having an exhibit by the employees from Art Pack at the City Gallery at the Costick Center in about 6 months, I think, around 6 months. So look for that too. Sign up on our email list and you'll get information about all the programs coming up in the Cultural Arts Division in the city and some other things as well. So you can do that. One other question that I'd love to ask all of you, because you're all involved in the arts, and anyone that's in the arts always has such a passion for it. But this is something that frustrates a lot of us, and it's we face it all the time, no matter what we're doing in the arts. And how do we get past that perception that the arts are an extra and they're not a necessity? I mean, I know you all have, reasons to believe that, and I can see the changes it makes in children. And I always believe with our programs, children will express themselves one way or another. There used to be a very great advertisement for that, and it had half a bullet and the top was a crayon, and they said, this is one reason the arts are a good thing. But beyond that, I mean, how do we get that perception out there that it's not just a good thing, that it's a necessary part of life? And that's something that I think we all need to work on.
It really starts, like everything, it starts with at home. It starts, if your parents aren't aware of the necessity of art and the great benefit from being creative, the creative process, you're going to have to get it from somewhere else. But it's the educational system.
It is all evolved over time as well. I mean, now this openness that we're showing tonight is something that's more recent. Probably 20 years ago, or 40, even more so, it wasn't as encouraged, especially there were some careers that were not encouraged for girls and some not for boys. And boys were not encouraged to be artists 40 years ago plus. My older brother was told by my father that a real man did not become an artist. So he was totally discouraged by that. And he never took a class until he was a dean of students at a college, and he was over 60 taking his first drawing class. So he kind of resented the fact that I was allowed to be the family artist, but he was not, because as a male, he had to support his family. That's the way it was looked at. But today, I think everyone is very open to it. You know that you can earn a living. You know that you can be open to all the opportunities that combine to make you an interesting artist, designer, or someone in the arts.
And I think you hit on a key with being able to make a living, because there was a perception based on the starving artist. And a lot of people, I think, did not encourage their children to pursue it because they were afraid of the perception of going out and starving. And again, I think it's approaching art with a realistic expectation of where you want to take it. What field you want to get in that you can make a good living. Our youngest son is a children's book illustrator, Dora the Explorer. He works for a corporation called Nickelodeon in New York. He's making a darn good living. Unfortunately, he never leaves his basement because that's where he works from. But he doesn't have to face snow in the morning.
Lucky him.
Lucky him, yeah. I'm jealous.
I do think it's telling those stories about careers and about, sort of explaining, every chance we get how art is really intertwined with just about everything. Any product that you have in your home, your cell phone was designed by somebody, the apps on it was designed by somebody. It's art, it's design, it's music, there's just so many. I can't think of a part of life that doesn't have art, that's, that, and creative thinking and problem solving and, all that is so ingrained that it's hard for me to think about art not being part of somebody's life. So I think it's telling those stories. I think it's telling the stories about careers and about what art actually is, what design is, what people do with that.
I see being an artist as an all-encompassing involvement. To put a definition on it, or even seeing being an artist as being a career. Because you can be an artist and do other things. But what I would like to eliminate is the word, it's okay to have a hobby, but because you don't practice art as a full-time endeavor, that doesn't make it a hobby. You are an artist, and it's about the creative process. So I feel like I'm trying to redefine a bunch of words we're using here tonight, but there are stereotypes. In fact, on the board out there, I asked what is art. I said art is the freedom from stereotypes, and I firmly believe that. So if we can be an artist, but also realize that if you're not making a living at it, you still are an artist. So
it's who you are.
Right.
Simply.
Exactly.
It's just simply who you are.
Well, I think around this time of the evening, maybe we'll just go down and ask for some closing remarks from all of you. Again, I'm just so grateful to all of you for showing up tonight and being part of this discussion. I think it's been very valuable. We're going to be able to talk to them afterwards. We're going to have refreshments and so on outside there, and you can talk to anyone in the panel if you'd like and get some more information. But let's start with Jordan. Jordan, do you have any advice you'd like to give someone who wants to get? Are you planning on going into a career in the arts? Let me ask you that. You're still in high school.
Shocking as it may be, I'm actually not thinking about pursuing a career in the arts, but definitely keeping it as a part of my life. I actually want to go and major in biology and biological oceanography, but it's always nice to have something that you can. Even stress, stress just gets to you. Theater is a thing that can help you just let it go. Especially this week with finals in high school, going to both rehearsals today that I had for my show. It reminds you that, it's art just lets you be you, and art just lets you let everything go and, be free.
Great. Bob, how about you? Now, you're enjoying just painting, as you say now, but
it's a wonderful
it's
outlet for creativity, and that can be any form of creativity that you're interested in. but it's something that I think you deserve yourself to look at, and if you're at all interested in the arts, pursue it, even if it's a side hobby.
Amy.
Well, and I would say too, don't be afraid to change your mind if you start out doing something that may interest you, but you see something else. I think that kind of can be the nature of the artist, to always be aware of other things and see what else interests you. Sometimes you might start on one path and end up down another. You may create your own. I've seen it in my own family with my son. He started out in the graphic design department. He changed majors to the illustration department. He graduated about 5 years ago, and he started working as he did web design for the Detroit Free Press for about a year. And then he left to go to a company called Team Detroit, and he was working as a creative director. And came to me after working there, doing very, very well, after about 2 years, and said that he wanted to open his own gallery. And I thought, oh no, what's going to happen next? And so he's actually been very successful with that. He came up with an idea to, he has a limited edition print website where they sell prints for a limited amount of time. It's called One Time Run. That's actually been the bread and butter. So they started out with a gallery in Royal Oak that supported artists. He had great connections being at CCS. So a lot of the artists that he had met came in and did shows, so he was supporting that in his own community. He's since moved to a place in Eastern Market. They brought in artists from all over the world recently for the Detroit Beautification Project, doing street art throughout Hamtramck and the Eastern Market area. So, I guess, I'm bragging a little bit, but I'm also talking about somebody who started out doing one thing, thinking I'm going to go into graphic design and do this thing, and ended up in a completely different path that he created himself, basically. So don't be afraid to do that.
Definitely.
Just keep your eyes open and take advantage of every opportunity you can.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting how many of us have kind of created our own careers.
Mhm.
It's
Definitely.
creative problem solving almost. How do I take what I've got and make it into something that works? And I think that's an advantage to having a creative mind, with the arts.
Along that same line with the diversity, taking a different path, when my full-time job was eliminated, and I was a trades and design consultant working with tradesmen and individual clients and commercial spaces. But when that was eliminated, you have to find something else. This is when you have to reinvent. And you have to be able to reinvent yourself along the way each time you change careers or jobs. So I became a freelance consultant for color and tile specifically, and design. But along the way, I've always painted, and I'm painting more now. It's like, okay, time is short. So what are you waiting for? I just got my first website, so it's taken me a long time to do that. But you have to reinvent yourself along the way, whatever life hands you, and whatever it is will enrich the end result for sure.
Well, as I have mentioned several times, as an artist, or actually everybody, should be involved in life to the nth degree, experience your environment. And one of the things I do that I actually can call a hobby is I am a beekeeper. And I've been doing it for probably close to 40 years. And I love it, and it absolutely permeates whatever art that I do. There's no way around it. And that's what I find as an artist, when you are involved in various aspects of life, you can't help but be influenced. And I have one quote by a Gestalt therapist named Fritz Perls, who has long left this world, but his statement is that contact is incompatible with remaining the same. So that sounds a little twisted initially maybe, but basically what he's saying, you can't touch someone and not be affected by them. You can't look at a tree and not be affected. So I've always cherished that little saying. As I mentioned, beekeeping, I absolutely love it, and it does permeate everything I do as an artist in one way or another, whether it's the navigation of the bees through the magnetic fields or the honey that they produce. And so to cap that off, this morning I did 7 what I call 7 hive haikus, which I'm not going to read them. Actually, I will read one of them. Again, this is the involvement of the artist. It's not just the painting, it's all aspects of it. So I don't know if you're familiar with haikus or not, but they have a certain rhythm to them. So this one, I'll read one. It says, remembering sounds, activated hive hums proud, nectar flows freely. So I'm anticipating spring right around the corner, big time. So. Got to get the bees going.
I tease my mom and I say that it's taken my whole life to become an art therapist, but I can pull up all the life's experiences that have been given to me and use them in my creative adventures. And they are adventurous, believe me, at times, but I feel that everything that happened along my life's journey is guided me to becoming a superb and outstanding art therapist.
Well, once again, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming tonight and for contributing so much to this great discussion, and the Farmington Area Arts Commission also for putting this on. And Cindy, did you want to close tonight? Yep. Okay, come on up.
Well, I'd like to just say thank you one more time. If we could have one more great round of applause for the wonderful panel. Thank you. I have a couple people that I'd like to recognize, and then I won't keep you. We do have treats, and you can please ask more questions and stay. But first, I wanted to recognize that hopefully some of you were here earlier and got to hear the lovely, amazing playing of Owen Hobson. And Owen is an 8th grader at Dunkel Middle School, and he has quite the credentials. So I actually just want to share some. Owen is currently co-principal bassist in the Oakland Youth Orchestra. He is formerly a member of the Livonia Youth Symphony and Detroit Metropolitan Youth Symphony. He has been selected as bassist for the MSBOA All-State Middle School String Orchestra in both 2013 and 2014. He's played in numerous solo competitions as both a violinist and a bassist. And Owen plans to be a professional performer after graduating from school. So thank you, and really wanted beautiful music. Couple of housekeeping. I also like to actually recognize City Council member Mike Bridges, who has joined us, and I thank you for coming. I wanted to thank Celeste again, and the entire commission, but Celeste really spearheaded this event, and I'm really excited and hoping that this will be an annual. I know it will be. And to some of your comments, the arts are everywhere, so our hope is that this will just continue to grow, and we'll feature musicians and architects and writers and everywhere that arts touches us in our panels. So look for that next year as well. And so with that, I thank you again, and please join us out in the other room for some treats.